Happy New Year and welcome to 2023. The Formula 1 season is now right around the corner with livery launches, testing, and then of course the beginning of the season. And it is time to do my traditional blind predictions for the upcoming season, which are always so much fun, especially looking back at the end of the year, kind of where my mind was basically going into the season. So yeah, I can't wait for that. But I'm going to begin with the drivers and then at the end do my constructors as well. It'll be a bit more obvious by then. So let's get into it. Here is the list then, my 1 to 20, and I'm actually going to begin with a double billing of both 20th and 19th place. In 20th, I have got Logan Sargent, and in 19th, I have got Alex Albon. Purely from the fact that I think that Williams is still going to be the team at the back of the grid. In fact, to be brutally honest, I am going to be shocked if they finish anywhere but last, and actually kind of impressed as well, because with some of the instability, even during the off-season, forget what happened last year and the fact that they again were the kind of the backmarker team and didn't really have a great car to begin with, and they didn't really get that much better as the season progressed. They did manage to score a few points, which is good, but with Jos Capito kind of departing the team, and more importantly to me, the technical director, FX de Maison, who is designing the 2023 car? Who is the technical director that's driving the vision? And how is that car going to progress across the season? I've got so many doubts about Williams, and unfortunately, I think the drivers are going to be a little bit like, deer in headlights in terms of that team, potentially, hopefully still scoring points. I mean, I'd love to see Alex do well and in a better car. I think he had a really good comeback season. And for Logan, it really is going to be kind of in at the deep end for his rookie season. But I'm sure they're going to be a really good partnership. Obviously, Logan Sargent, we're going to have, I think, 3 races in America, so it's going to be a big year for him either way. So yeah, there's lots to be excited about with Williams and their drives. I just feel like the team is going to be massively on the back foot, and unfortunately kind of carrying on from last year. Unfortunately, I think both of their drivers are going to be in both of those kind of last places, with again Sargent in 20th and Albon in 19th. Whenever I do these predictions, I always do like to include 1 or 2 kind of what I would call maybe crazy predictions, or just kind of out there predictions that would be interesting if they came true. And my next one, and again, I've got 2 teammates to finish right next to each other. I have got Yuki Tsunoda in 18th and Nick De Vries to beat Yuki in his rookie season, finishing in 17th. Now, once again, I think that the team isn't quite... AlphaTauri is always so difficult to predict. I mean, they could so easily be at the team that finishes in last with the worst car, and they could also build a car as good as they had in 2021 and maybe finish up there, with the likes of the best of the rest and, some of the best teams in the midfield. But the big prediction here is De Vries to finish ahead of Tsunoda. There is a lot of pressure on Yuki in 2022 because with so much Red Bull Junior talent in the lower formula, Yuki's already had 2 seasons. He's going to go, he's going to finish his 3rd in 2023. And yeah, his Formula 1 seat is going to be on the line. He's going to have to perform, but I think De Vries is going to be a really tough challenge for him because I don't remember the last time we've seen a driver this accomplished and also this mature. I mean, I think De Vries is like 27. He's not just a Formula 2 champion. He's not just had success in the lower formula. He's also a Formula E champion. He's driven for the factory Mercedes team. He's also driven for quite a few sports car teams. So he's driven at a very high level in terms of motorsport. He's a very well-rounded driver. And obviously last year, he has driven more 2022 cars than any other driver on the planet, driving for Mercedes and Williams and AlphaTauri and obviously Aston Martin. And then it's just, yeah, it's kind of crazy in terms of like how much experience De Vries is going to come in. And I think that's going to massively help him. I think he's going to be really ready and he is going to hit the ground running. Yeah, my first kind of big bold prediction for 2023, I have got De Vries to finish ahead of Tsunoda in 17th. The next few drivers I am going to do, I have got Kevin Magnussen in 16th, I have got Zhou Guanyu in 15th, and another bold prediction for 2023, I have got Nico Hülkenberg in 14th to beat K-Mag on his return. Now, just on the Zhou kind of front, I think Zhou is going to have a much better season, hopefully a bit more luck. I feel like he had a really solid rookie season, nothing amazing, nothing out there, but I think he actually proved a lot of people wrong. I think that going into 2022, a lot of people thought that, oh, this is just another pay driver, he's going to be even another Mazepin, but he kept it clean. He kind of, he didn't cause too much of a stir, and to be honest, he got really unlucky throughout his season. He was one of the drivers who got some of the most DNFs, so hopefully Alfa Romeo can give him the car to actually score points because he's definitely capable of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses in 2023. But in terms of the 2 Haas boys, yes, I have got Nico Hülkenberg to finish in 14th and K-Mag to finish in 16th. Now, yeah, this is a big shout. I mean, The thing about Kevin Magnussen is that he is such an infuriating driver because he's got these moments of absolute magic, and of course the highlight is that pole position and also some of the big point scores. I mean, in Bahrain, I think finishing in 6th on his return to Formula 1, but he also does have a mistake and some inconsistencies, and I do feel like, you know, I do feel like Haas actually did kind of go... You know, I understand why they went with Nico Hülkenberg ahead of Mick Schumacher, because Hülkenberg, even if he's not going to be kind of the star driver who's going to get the podiums and those big results, or even, you know, the pole positions, he's going to be solid. If you give him a car to score points, at the very least, I don't think Hülkenberg is going to be binning it into the wall and doing, you know, a horrible job. So he's going to be scoring some points. So hopefully Haas can give their drivers the car to do the job. And I feel like, even though I think the peaks perhaps are a little bit higher for Kevin Magnussen, I really do think that Hülkenberg has the ability to just be a consistent point scorer and come out, you know, on top of K-Mag. So again, another bold prediction. Going to be interesting to see how that partnership plays out. At the very least, I think they're two very solid drivers. They're both very mature drivers as well. But yeah, I've got another bold prediction of Nico Hülkenberg on his comeback to Formula 1 after, what, 3 years out of the sport, to finish ahead of Kevin Magnussen. The next two drivers that I have got on my list, in 13th is Lance Stroll, and in 12th I have got Valtteri Bottas. Now, in terms of Lance Stroll, I think he's going to have a Lance Stroll season. He's kind of not going to do too much bad, but also not going to do too much good. I think he's going to turn up for about, you know, 4 or 5 races a year, look absolutely amazing, and then for the rest of them kind of be a little bit anonymous, which is kind of where Lance Stroll is. He's not a bad driver, but he's also not someone that I think is irreplaceable, obviously. So yeah, I've got him kind of in a good 13th and hopefully scoring a few points. Now, in terms of Valtteri, I think that, you know, there is a lot of change at Alfa Romeo. Obviously, Fred Vasseur is gone now. He's at Ferrari. So we have Andreas Seidel as the CEO. We don't actually know who the team principal is yet of Alfa Romeo, but I do hope that, you know, Bottas and also Zhou as well, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, I do hope that they're going to be given a decent car, because again, looking at the beginning of 2022, I think we forget the kind of level that Bottas was operating at. He was qualifying amazingly, even in front of the Mercedes on certain races, and then doing really well in the races. I mean, he was kind of best of the rest in the championship for a very long time at the beginning of the season, and then obviously the car kind of tailed off, and the fact that he was up against a rookie, you know, did Valtteri take it a little bit easier? I don't know, it's a little bit more difficult to say, but now with obviously Zhou having a year under his belt, I think he's going to push Valtteri in qualifying and also in the races a lot more, and hopefully that kind of, hopefully that kind of means that Valtteri will also step up as well, which obviously is going to be good for the entire team if they have two drivers kind of operating at an even higher level than they were last year. So yeah, hopefully, despite all of the change at Alfa Romeo, I do want to see that team doing well, because obviously that team is going to be transitioning to Audi. So even though that is, you know, in 2026 and quite a few years away, you know, Audi are going to want to see that team progress, especially under Andreas Seidel. So hopefully the drivers are going to be given the car to do the job. And we know with Bottas, he showed in 2022 that when he is given, a good car in the midfield, he can be one of the best drivers on the grid. So yeah, I've got Valtteri to have a pretty decent season in 12th. In 11th place, I have got Fernando Alonso, brand new to Aston Martin, replacing the retiring Sebastian Vettel. It's going to be very interesting to see if Aston Martin can continue that trajectory that positive trajectory that they were on in 2022, because although the year started very, very badly, there were some races at the end of the season, like in Austin, for example, where they were best of the rest. Now, whether they can build that kind of best of the rest midfield car and maybe even get a few podiums, we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I still think that the likes of Alpine and McLaren are just going to have a little bit too much for Aston Martin. I do hope that the gap is a little bit closer, especially over the course of the entire season, because we all know that if you give Fernando Alonso a car to fight for points or fight for anything, he is going to get 110% out of it. And now being at his own team with kind of Lance Stroll, let's be honest, as kind of the number 2, it's going to be kind of team Fernando, that's for sure. So yeah, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that. Obviously, the thing about Fernando Alonso, I'm going to be so excited to watch him, because as I always say, whether you love him or you hate him, Fernando Alonso is box office. There is always a drama, there is always a story, whether his car is on fire or whether he's, on the front row in Canada. There is always something that, happening around Fernando. So yeah, when it comes to Alonso and Aston Martin, yeah, I can't wait to see what they're going to be able to do in 2023. Now, next up, and we're into the top 10, I have got Pierre Gasly. I think Pierre Gasly is going to have, again, a really solid season. I do hope that Alpine can kind of sort their reliability issues, because although they did finish best of the rest in the Constructors in 2022, I really do think that Fernando Alonso had the chance and the speed and the results to finish best of the rest in the drivers, but it was just that reliability that almost cost them in the Constructors, and almost single-handedly they were beaten by Lando Norris. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if they've kind of sorted those issues in 2023. But when it comes to Gasly, I think he's going to be massively motivated, finally leaving the Red Bull program to what I think he probably feels like is his own team. I don't have him beating Esteban Ocon in his first season there, but I do think that they're going to be super close, and you'll see where I've got Esteban in just a little bit. But yeah, leaving Red Bull, leaving AlphaTauri, that kind of, that family that he's been part of ever since he came into Formula One, I think he's going to be massively motivated in 2023 to kind of be his own driver and build kind of his own part of Alpine, and kind of really feel like it's his home now and a brand new start in his career. So yeah, I've got him having a very good season and finishing in 10th. Now, just ahead of Pierre Gasly in 9th, I have got arguably the driver that I am most looking forward to seeing how he's going to do in 2023, and that is Oscar Piastri of McLaren. Now, this can go so many ways. Oscar Piastri, he could be absolutely amazing and be like this unbelievable talent and deliver on all of that hype and all of that expectation of being so successful in single-seaters, or he could continue on the Daniel Ricciardo kind of trend of struggling at McLaren up against Lando Norris. But to be honest, I mean, I think finishing in 9th, that would be a very solid season for Oscar Piastri. I do think that there was an opportunity, last year to finish best of the rest, especially looking at how good their car is or was in the hands of Lando Norris, and ultimately they didn't have that driver, alongside Lando who could deliver on that performance. But I think Oscar is going to have a very solid rookie season. I think he's going to be able to mix it up with the likes of Fernando Alonso and Gasly and Ocon and Norris, and I cannot wait to see, again, Oscar Piastri. This could go so many different ways. He could be an absolutely amazing success, maybe even beat Lando Norris, or he could be a massive flop. We just don't know how this is going to go. But yeah, undoubtedly my most exciting kind of driver to watch is going to be Piastri, and I have got him finishing in 9th. In terms of the next two places in 8th and 7th, I still think it's going to be a fight for the best of the rest. I don't feel like the likes of Alpine and McLaren will be able to kind of jump that, next level and really be able to kind of mix it up with the top three teams. I think they need another season or two. I still think it's going to be the traditional kind of Ferrari, Red Bull, and also Mercedes as kind of the top three teams. And I still think that there's going to be a fight for that best of the rest kind of P7. And in terms of who I've got finishing in P8 and P7, I have got Esteban Ocon in P8 and Lando Norris, once again, best of the rest in P7. Again, this is going to be hopefully a much more closer fight and much more exciting fight, because it was really weird in 2022, because if we did have two drivers at McLaren who were able to score decent points, we could have had such a more exciting fight for that kind of best of the rest. I always felt like McLaren were kind of, fighting with only one hand really, or one hand tied behind their back, with Daniel Ricciardo not quite delivering on the level of Lando Norris. And I think with Piastri, it's going to be a lot closer between the likes of McLaren and Alpine, and I can't wait to see how that fight kind of turns out. I think it's going to be so exciting to see Lando, Ocon, obviously Pierre, and I'm sure Fernando is going to be also in the mix with Piastri there as well. So yeah, but ultimately I've got Esteban Ocon to obviously be the team leader at Alpine. I feel like he did a really good job, and regardless of any bad luck, I feel like he's just flying high at the moment. He's got that kind of long-term contract. That's kind of his team now, and I'm sure he's going to be able to kind of beat, Pierre Gasly in his first season, or up against Pierre Gasly as teammates. And when it comes to Lando Norris, I mean, this is the guy that I have just been raving about in 2022. I know that he didn't have kind of an amazing car, but I do hope that McLaren kind of give him a more consistent car, because again, this is a guy that can easily win races, undoubtedly, and I want to see Lando back on the podium. He is someone that I think can definitely fight for multiple race wins, but can McLaren, especially with all of the change now, with Andrea Seidel kind of gone, Andrea Stella now taking over as the team principal, Lando Norris's future is being highly, talked about, and McLaren have to prove that they can give Lando the car to do the job. Now, again, I've got him finishing in P7, so I don't think he's going to break into that kind of top 6 with the top 3 teams, but hopefully we're going to see Lando back on the podium. Obviously, he was the only driver outside of the top 3 teams to finish on the podium, and I think he's going to finish best of the rest yet again. He's just on that level at the moment where he is ready for a better car. He is ready to jump up another level, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do. But once again, I have got Lando finishing best of the rest in P7. Here we are then. We are into the top 6, and of course the top 3 teams as well. And in 5th and 6th, again, I'm going to do 2 drivers because they are both teammates. In 6th, I have got Carlos Sainz, and in 5th, I have got Charles Leclerc. Now, to be brutally honest, I'm putting those 2 Ferrari drivers, you know, at the bottom of the top 6, with a bit of disappointment, because for anyone that watched my predictions for the 2022 season, again, blind predictions before we even saw what the pecking order was could have been during preseason testing for the brand new regulations, I predicted Leclerc to be the world champion in 2022. Now, I was actually pretty proud of that prediction because Ferrari did produce a championship kind of level car for the first kind of 5 or 6 races of the season before they absolutely kind of nosedived. They were kind of found out in the end, you know, the kind of team as a whole and how Fred Vasseur will kind of fix the team will be very interesting to see. But there were limitations, you know, operationally, in terms of their strategy, in terms of their pit stops. There was quite a few mistakes, and even the drivers as well. You know, never forget the drivers also made mistakes, and I think you know, Carlos Sainz especially. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Carlos Sainz is going to be able to do, because he started 2022 so badly and kind of really not what I expected. You know, Leclerc was clearly the number 1 of the team, and how Sainz is going to start 2023, I think will determine whether he really could be someone who could fight for the World Championship, or if he's just someone who's going to always be Leclerc's number 2. So even with Leclerc in 5th and Sainz in 6th, I do want to see Ferrari challenging for race wins, because I think regardless, you know, maybe it is just the history or the fandom, but, you know, seeing Ferrari challenge for race wins and maybe even a world championship, I do think that it's good for the sport, it's good for Formula 1, and it is, you know, cool to see. So, yeah, with a little bit of disappointment, I have got Ferrari finishing even lower than where they were in 2022, with Leclerc in 5th and Carlos Sainz in 6th. In 4th place, I have got George Russell. Now, coming into 2023, he is going to be riding high on confidence after getting his first Grand Prix win, his first pole position, and actually having a very good season, or first season at Mercedes, obviously beating Lewis as well. So all of that is just going to mean that he's going to be riding this wave of confidence, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do in 2023. Hopefully Mercedes can kind of give him a car that is a little bit more competitive and allows him to challenge for race wins on a more regular basis. You know, maybe I've done a bit of a disservice to George, because I do think he's going to be able to do a much better job than, say, Valtteri did in 2021, and he would be able to fight for a world championship, but I do think that Red Bull is going to be just a little bit stronger than Mercedes. So yeah, that is why I've got George finishing in 4th. And in 3rd place, I have got Sergio Perez. I think the biggest reason why I've got Checo in 3rd, you know, obviously I do think that it's going to be kind of Mercedes versus Red Bull, as you can tell, for 2023. But when it comes to ranking all of those 6 drivers from those top 3 teams, ultimately, I do think that Sergio Perez is the weakest of the 6 drivers, and even if you give him a dominant car like he had, you know, if there is a driver like, for example, Leclerc last year, Leclerc had a race-winning car, and he was still able to hang on to that 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship, and that's why I feel like just purely of that driver kind of caliber, that's why I think that Sergio Perez is going to finish in 3rd. Of course, that means that for the top 2, there is just 2 names left, and who do I have out of Lewis and Max to finish as the world champion and the runner-up? Now, once again, I do hopefully think that we're going to have a repeat of 2021 and hopefully a much closer fight for the world championship than we saw last year. But in terms of the world champion, I have got Max Verstappen to finish as the 2023 world champion and Lewis Hamilton to finish in 2nd place. Now, I mean, first of all, just quickly on the Hamilton front, I do think that with a much cleaner season, if Mercedes can give their drivers a better car that can win races more consistently, I think Lewis's raw pace and the fact that he is still operating at such a high level, maybe not kind of his ultimate highest level that he was operating in 2017 or 2018, but, you know, even a step down for that for Lewis Hamilton is still the absolute pinnacle for pretty much 99.9% of most drivers. I think he is going to get the better of Russell with a more cleaner season, kind of less experimenting and just down to pure pace, and also just the quality of the driver that Lewis is. But I still have Max and Red Bull as the team to beat. I feel like Max is undoubtedly the best driver in Formula 1 right now. He's not just in his prime, but he's kind of all of that work that Red Bull and all that pain that Red Bull had to go through with, you know, the Renault years and even the early Honda years, it's all paying off now. They're the team to beat. They've got the best driver. They are also going into the season on a much kind of higher level than even the likes of Ferrari or Mercedes. So even if the likes of Ferrari or Mercedes, you know, catch up a little bit, Red Bull should still be the team to beat. They managed to kind of develop the car a little bit more towards Max's style. And I mean, once that happened, it was pretty much game over for the rest of the, you know, for the rest of the field. It was just Max domination in the second half of the season. But I do want to see a closer title fight. Hopefully a return of Lewis versus Max. You know, 2021 part 2 in 2023. Yes, please. I can't wait to see that. But I have got Max as the world champion once again, winning 3 in a row, becoming a 3-time world champion. Not many drivers, you know, win 3 championships in a row. But yeah, Max, again, he's in his prime. He is a generational talent and he seems to be unstoppable, especially with what Red Bull is able to give him right now in this brand new era. So yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully a much closer championship fight, a much more exciting championship fight than we saw in 2022. But yeah, once again, I've got Max Verstappen to become a 3-time world champion and be the 2023 champ. So that was my predictions for the Drivers' Championship, but now let's really quickly go through my Constructors' Championship predictions. Now, I'm not going to go through them kind of team by team, I'm just going to put it up on the screen and talk about kind of the really big highlights. Again, I think the team at the bottom is going to be Williams. I just feel like with the uncertainty of that team, and also I just really worry about the development of that car, like who's in charge at the moment, who's going to develop that car, who's got the vision. Unfortunately, I still think that they're going to be at the back of the grid. In terms of that kind of best of the rest fight, I do have McLaren to finish ahead of Alpine and kind of get the job done with Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And then in terms of the top 3 teams, I have got Ferrari, unfortunately, dropping behind Mercedes, but I do still think that Red Bull is still going to be the team to beat. I feel like even though the fact that, you know, because they did break the cost cap, they do have a bit less aero time. I think they're coming from a much higher point, so even if they do drop off a little bit, I still think they'll have enough to kind of have the edge over Mercedes or Ferrari. And so yeah, I've got Red Bull to also win back-to-back Constructors titles as well. And yes, that is my prediction. That's my predictions for the Constructors' Championship in 2023. Well, there you have it. Those are all of my predictions for the 2023 season. And for the most part, I really do hope that, you know, regardless of who wins the championship, that we just get a closer fight in the title, a bit more of an exciting narrative and a bit more drama when it comes to the championship, and not just, you know, kind of Leclerc versus Verstappen for the first 5 or 6 races, and then basically just kind of Ferrari imploding and then Max dominating, because we do want to see a championship fight to kind of make the season a bit more memorable, a bit more exciting. And yes, that is my #1 wish for 2023. Anyway, once again, those are my predictions. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.